Good evening. Hello, everybody. Do I need the microphone? Yeah, okay, I'll use the microphone. Warm welcome to the Ian Gullen Lecture Theatre this evening. My name is Mark Dinverno. I'm a pro warden here at Goldsmiths. I'm a professor of artificial intelligence and computer science as well, and a jazz musician. And I came to Goldsmiths because of interdisciplinarity, diversity, inclusion, creativity. And all of those feature in our guest speaker tonight, who's going to speak about her career, the experiences, the opportunities, the ideas, the lessons that she's learned. And this is about trying to support each and every one of you. We at Goldsmiths are really committed, and the careers department really committed to helping you think through what it is that you want to do, and hearing the journeys and the stories of people who have had challenges and come through and been successful is part of that. So I'm delighted to say hello to my friend Ashley, who has organised this whole event. Round of applause for Ashley. And it is absolutely brilliant to see so many of you here today. Have a great evening. Thank you, Ashley.
All right, thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone, for turning up on time and everything. Thank you. So yeah, just a little bit of information. So before we start, in the unlikely event, this is the air hostess bit, so in the unlikely event of there being a fire alarm, please, in a formally manner, just come down the aisles, and there's fire exits to your right outside. And yeah, but like Mark mentioned, you know, we're very delighted to have you here, Maisie. The way we're going to do this is we will talk about Game of Thrones, because I think that's a little bit of a big thing. But importantly, we want to hear about Maisie's journey. Obviously, she's here. She's a co-founder of Daisie, so we're all interested in finding out what that journey is, some of the struggles and challenges. And yeah, just hope that you guys enjoy it. There will be an opportunity to ask some questions toward the end, and I have been inundated with about 5,000 questions, which I'll try and incorporate in this today. But first and foremost, Maisie, thank you so much for coming in today. And just to start it off, one of the questions that I've got is, if you had to sum up your personality in 3 words, what would they be?
My personality in 3 words. I don't know. My personality. Embarrassing. Funny, maybe. Oh no, we'll see. And hardworking.
That's good.
Those are terrible.
Okay. Let's take it back to the start. So where did it all start with you? Tell us about yourself and where you grew up.
So I am the youngest of 4 children. I grew up in a 3-bedroom council house with my siblings, and also I have 2 step siblings who are younger than me and a half brother who's older than all of us. But I only lived in that 3-bedroom house with 4 of my 6 siblings, so it was pretty hectic, but not that hectic. We grew up just outside of Bristol, and from a really young age, I always had big dreams. I know, shocking. And I always wanted to be a dancer. Actually, acting wasn't something that was on the radar for me until I was in the show. But yeah, I'd always trained to be a dancer when I was really young. I went to a local dance school, and I was in all my school plays and stuff, and really loved performing and got a real joy from that.
Cool. So you mentioned obviously being an actor. So did you always want to be an actor? And so how did that come about? How did obviously the Game of Thrones thing? Let's talk about that. How did that come about?
So I was going to this local dance school, and I wanted to like perform full time. So I told my mom when I was 10, I was like, I don't want to go to school anymore. I want to be like Billy Elliot and go to stage school. And she was really supportive in that and took me to all the auditions. I went to a place called Tring and auditioned there for stage school for like year 7, I guess. And I got in, which was amazing, but I didn't get any government funding, and the fees for a school like that were unachievable for me and my mom. So I didn't end up going. But a year later, I auditioned again, and this time I got 40% funding, but it was still not enough for me to be able to go. And that was sort of the age that, like my mum, she was a single mum with us growing up, and I never really felt that at all. She was, everything that she earned, she put towards us. And I never really understood that until these moments where I was like, if we had money, I could do something with my life. And it was, it was just a strange age to really realize that. And, when I look back now, it's kind of a shame that I had to, anyone has to feel like that when they're that young and their ambitions seem so unachievable. But my dance school, in terms of actually getting to the Game of Thrones part of it, the dance school that I went to, my dance teacher really wanted me to go far, and she really believed in me. And there was a talent show that was advertised there, and it was for, boasted opportunities of making you a star. So I was thrilled. And I auditioned for that, and I got in, but it was in Paris, the event. And so we had to pay for flights and accommodation, which was still not money that we had, but it was far more achievable. So at 12, 11 years old, I went fundraising and knocking door to door and asking people for money. And my grandparents helped us out a little bit. And when I went to Paris, because my grandparents had helped and we'd worked so hard to get there, my mum was like, why don't you enter into everything? Like, I'd always enjoyed performing in general. So I entered into dancing and singing and acting and modeling. And it was really great fun. And while I was there, I went to an improvisation workshop, like an acting workshop. I met a woman called Louise Johnston. And she gave me the words bowling ball and told me to create a scene inspired by those words. And I made her laugh by telling her story, a fictional story, of how I threw a bowling ball at my brother. And it made her laugh, and she just said, do you want to be part of my acting agency? And I didn't really know what that meant. I knew that I'd maybe be doing auditions for films and maybe be an actress. But I had big dreams of being a dancer, so she was going to have to work a lot harder than that if she thought that I was going to be an actress. But yeah, my second audition with her was for Game of Thrones, and it all just changed.
It does show a lot of resilience and persistence. So what was it that kind of fueled you to carry on going at such a young age? Because a lot of us do have a lot of challenges and things ahead of us. So it'd be great to actually hear from, what actually gets you through those things, like when maybe students have dissertations or essays that are due. What is it that gets you through it? At such a young age, you're proactively going for this.
Well, there's a lot of memories from my childhood that I'd really rather forget, but there was moments during those really sad times that instinctually I'd go to my CD player, my mum's, and put on music and like turn up the volume and like just let my body move. And I don't know, like if there's something in your life that like just overwhelms you with this amazing feeling whenever you're doing it, or, I just, from a young age, I knew like I'm not going to stop it until I get to do this with my life. And I guess, I don't know what it was. I was just willing to give up everything, willing to give up all my friends and go to boarding school, willing to leave my family. There was a path that I could see, and I just wanted to perform. That's all I've ever wanted, and that's all I've ever been good at. I can't do anything else. And I think, when you're that hungry and you're that determined to take risks and not play it by the rules and take opportunities that seem so bizarre and obscure, if it hadn't have been the show then, it would have been something later on. I know that in my bones.
Well, that's good. I mean, believing in yourself, and I think that obviously with Game of Thrones kind of like becoming a bit of a big deal, with the final season coming up in April, what's it feel like seeing that project grow? Being part of it from the start, and like you said, throwing everything into it. What's it like now? Standing back, and I can imagine, coming up to this sort of time, it's hard not to recognise you as Arya Stark. So what is it like to actually see it grow and kind of become big?
So when I talk about that opportunity of the show and doing that audition, like now it seems like, well, that amazing opportunity came knocking when I was 12, but really no one knew who the show was. Like no one knew what it was. and it was just one episode. Like, it wasn't this huge show that it is now. No one knew it was going to become this, and my school were not supportive in any way, even though they tweet me every day. And remember, they wrote me a letter and were like, you don't come to school enough, you can't go here anymore. And no one, they would ask me questions, they didn't really get it, and what's HBO, and what's Game of Thrones, and are you a boy, like, what's going on? And no one was supportive at all. And it's easy when people are like that to start to believe them and start to think, maybe this is a stupid, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, and maybe I should be pulling out, and I should go to school, and I should just, be a child. But my mom didn't. She knew that it was an opportunity to something. We didn't know how it was going to turn out. And watching the show just get bigger and bigger, and, like, when you're a part of something, you think, like, oh, this consumes my whole life. But, like, realizing that it's global. Like, I went to Sao Paulo recently, and, going to somewhere in the world that you've never been before on the other side of the planet, and seeing people, like, who know who you are, like, there's something just bizarre about that. And I mean, it still hits me now. Like, there's moments in my life where I just can't quite believe what's happened to me. It's a bit late. But yeah, it really is humbling, because everyone on the show works so hard, and but it's I'm never going to get used to it. It's bizarre.
I mean, like you have mentioned, it has been a journey, and it's been filled with a lot of determination and hard work. But how do you, as an individual, handle critical reviews? How do you? No one wants to be told they're not good for something, but how do you get past that? How do you deal with that when you get some? I
mean, I'd be lying if I said that there aren't nights that I just stay awake and I'm sad, because I think that happens to all of us. I think ultimately, with criticism and with like, just negative comments, I really try to just let them wash over me, and just be true and, like, be honest with what I want to achieve in my life and who I want to be. But yeah, it hurts. Like, of course it does, but no one wants to hear about it because you're an actress. But yeah, I think like, I've really tried to, like, look within a lot more recently, and really try to do a lot of, like, self-reflection and try and figure out why I do the things I do and why I am the way I am. And then when people start to criticize that, it doesn't hurt so much, because you can see yourself, and you can see, like, I don't know, that it's like, you're true, you're being honest. And I think there's no worse role model than someone who isn't being themselves, and pretending to be a good person and the right person and trying to do the right thing is only going to get you kind of found out after it, like, in the long run. So I think I just try to be as authentic and honest as I can be.
And I think that with that sort of confidence, we're going to be talking about, obviously, so Daisie is your next adventure. Mm-hmm. So we do want to talk about it. So tell us how that came about, and what's behind it, really.
Yeah, so I met a guy called Dom, and we'd met on a movie, and we decided to make our own movies together. Like, I'd always thought about producing films, but I'd never really had the confidence to do it alone. And he's got a better business mind than I do. But after shooting our first short film, we were sitting in my kitchen, and he said, like, there's a huge problem with creative industries, and it's so hard for people to get a job, which I completely agreed with, because the series of events that had got me to where I was were just basically based on luck and timing. And whenever people wanted me to say, like, how can I do it too, I never really had a good answer for them. And so we came up with the idea for a social network to be able to connect up-and-coming artists with each other. So as videographers can find writers, and writers can find directors, and people can start creating their own projects rather than waiting for someone else to deem them talented enough to come and work on their project. People can just start creating their own. And at the beginning, we thought we'd do, like, a LinkedIn for creative people, but LinkedIn isn't for creative people. And it doesn't really highlight your work the way that, you'd want to show yourself as a visual artist. So then we sort of moved into, like, a more Instagram-y feel, which is what we're at the moment. And then we launched the app. We had a team of, like, 6 people, and built a product, and we threw our money together and just self-funded at the beginning. You know, we couldn't really afford to do anything amazing. It's very expensive to get like engineers, and so we did what we could, and we knew what we wanted, and then we went to VCs and pitched what we had, and wanted to raise money and people to invest in our company, and then once they did, we managed to grow to a team of 16, and now we have a full team of engineers who are building something that's much more exciting, which will be coming in April. And yeah, we've just learned a lot about, you know, what we want. And ultimately, I think the core of Daisie is to get creative people paid. It's something that, you know, even when you get into the industry, there's so much unpaid internship that, you know, it's really hard to make a start. But yeah, it's just a long journey.
How did you feel about being a young woman going into tech? Obviously, you've got an established career in film and TV. Did you find it quite daunting? Like you said, you know, being an actress on a hit show and everything, you're not invincible, and you know, you have feelings and everything like that. How did you feel about being a female going into an industry which is, to be honest, quite identifiable with males? Was that something that you?
Yeah, I mean, it's never been anything. I've never tried to see it like that. I think there's a lot of things in life that you can put a ceiling on, and you can put boundaries on and say, like, what I'm entering into is a male-dominated industry. But for me personally, with a mindset like that, I start to like just make it worse for myself, I guess, and stand in my own way. It's like if I do interviews, like sometimes I do, like it was always my dream to go on Graham Norton, and then I went on Graham Norton, and before it I wasn't too nervous, but I felt like I should have been, because this was something that I really wanted, and I made myself really nervous, and then I just didn't do very well, and it's like I stood in my own way, and I really recognized that and thought, I'm never gonna do that to myself again. And so in terms of going into these VC meetings, I mean, as a founder, like, they say things to you like, we're really trying to invest in more females. And I'm like, why don't you just invest in people? And like, you know, it was kind of strange, and you sort of feel like a bit of a statistic. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like, there are more and more women in the industry, and you know, as a female founder, most of the engineering team and the marketing team are female at Daisie, and you know, for as many people that there are like standing in women's way, like there's a lot of women who are looking out for each other, and I think you really have to just like trust in that. And if there's one thing I've learned, like there's a place for everyone. And there's been multiple times in my life where I felt like completely inadequate and out of my depth, and I think, you know, you can stand in your own way and feel like that forever, or you can just like bite the bullet and throw yourself into these strange opportunities.
Do you actually feel that there's, and you may have an insight into this, do you think there's enough support out there for the creative industries, you know, for students from different backgrounds trying to get into it, you know, charities and things like, you know, do you think there's enough support from that in the wider picture? Because obviously Goldsmiths is historically renowned for its creative arts, but you know, it has plenty of transferable skills and things. But being a person that's actually into the industry now, do you, from what you're seeing at the moment, and it may be something that you've seen or not, do you think there's enough support for the creative arts these days?
I mean, there's been cuts to the creative arts at like the most simple level in primary schools and secondary schools, and at my growing up, I always felt like if you liked creative arts, then like you weren't really very smart, and like you couldn't do anything else, so you just did like drama, which was like the most insulting thing. And it kind of like, I always had this mindset that I was a bit stupid, like I always felt like that. And like it's taken me a few years to realize like I'm not, and I can do so much with my life. And I think like for the creative arts to be taken seriously is so important. And I think, you know, if you have a real passion for that, then you find places such as here that really celebrate those careers, and you know, you find your people in this world, and it's such a busy world. But yeah, I think it's important to just hone in on what it is about you that brings that light, and yeah, you find your people and you stick with them.
I mean, one thing that Daisie does do is it does kind of embody everything that you're kind of talking about. You know, it's a platform for creativity and collaboration, and it's open to everyone. Do you think like larger organisations need to be doing a bit more to kind of emphasise that? Because obviously you're effectively leading by example. You talk about this and you're actually investing your time and effort in. Can large organisations take a bit more notice? And do you think that they obviously they have a bigger role to play? Do you think they've got a responsibility, and do you think they should be doing anything differently at the moment?
Yeah, I think that like diversity in the creative world is like hugely lacking, and it's like these huge companies have been like, I'm speaking about the film industry, is like in particular, like, you know, these big like movie houses and stuff, and they've been running this way for years, and you know, the people in power have certain viewpoints, and with these big changes that we see, and you know, particularly with our generation, like we've grown up with the internet. It's the only thing we've ever known, and we're so aware and we're connected and we're the future, and some of these huge changes, they take generations to move through, but you know, you can sit and wait around for big organizations to change, or you can just create something that bypasses them entirely. And that's what I think is so exciting about Daisie, is that, you know, there's this archaic industry that you want to be a part of, but it's kind of more exciting to to say no to all of that, and like create something for yourself and create a new way of like running it. And people say to us like, so how do people on Daisie get a job? And it's like, you know, there's so many female directors that I've worked with who just like turn their back on the industry and turn their back on production companies, and they've raised their own money, they found their people, and they created their own movie, and then they launch it, and you know, people love the work that they do. And it's kind of more exciting not to play into these, you know, organizations that are so old-fashioned. There's something quite exciting about like creating something entirely new, and Daisie being able to like break down that side of the industry. My agents are going to kill me.
Just trying to loosely link up Game of Thrones and Daisie. Have any of your colleagues actually utilised the app, and have you got any sort of like stories of some of your colleagues collaborating like through Daisie or anything like that? Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people that I speak to about it on the show, like lots of them want to invest, which is very supportive and really great. But in terms of like the app that we have, like it was an MVP to like prove that we had an audience, so as we could get money. And then now that we have money, we're building something which is like much more suited to what we want people to use it for. So in terms of anyone building anything with Daisie and collaborating, like it's kind of just like another version of Instagram right now, so not really. But in terms of what we're building and where we're going, like absolutely. And you know, not even just the Game of Thrones cast, but like so many photographers that I work with are really excited for the idea of Daisie to be able to, you know, create mood boards and you know, have their entire team working on a project together online, and then being able to go out and shoot it and have it all exist there. So yeah, I think we speak about it as like 1 to 5s, and one's being people who like they have a passion but they've never really studied anything, and then 5s being people that have like a full-on career within the creative industries. And Daisie really appeals to everyone, you know, through that scale. So yeah, I'm excited to see in the future when we have something that's way better suited to what people need, who's going to be on Daisie.
Okay, I do have I have a couple of questions that have been emailed to me. One of my colleagues called Karen, who's somewhere, she would like to know, what is the riskiest decision you've ever made? You feel comfortable, you can actually talk about, obviously.
I left school when I was 15, and you know, when you look at the show now, like people are like, well, of course you don't need it, but at the time, like I mean, everyone, even like newspapers and everyone was like slamming me and my mom, and you know, thought she was a bad mother and like that, and I lost all my friends. I took a step away from everything, and there was like 1,000,001 snooty mothers that were like, so when are you going to get your GCSEs? And, you know, like living with that, it was terrifying, because I was like, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and everyone hates me for it. And yeah, it felt like a huge risk. And there were moments where I was with my mom, like, are you sure? And I think she was like, this is going to be fine, but secretly was like, what have I done? But it all turned out okay. Yeah. It was all fine.
I mean, you mentioned before Dom, who's the other co-founder of Daisie. Did you feel a bit scared about, actually, obviously you're a very passionate person, you want to open the door and provide a platform, but was there any part of you who was a bit scared, like, oh, you've gone from something that's very established and safe, and you've worked hard to create this. Was it daunting to you, and how did you kind of?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like, the way we work together, we balance each other out a lot. He's like a walking 8-ball, and I'm like a walking coffee bean, like, and we really do balance each other out a lot. And a lot of our discussions are him being like, we'll just do this, 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 and this. And I'm like, yeah, but what if? And yeah, there've been like huge doubts the whole way through. And I think, once we started growing a team, that was really exciting. Lady Gaga, she's like, there could be a room of 100 people and only 99 don't believe in you, but if one person believes in you, they can change your life. So when we like grew a team of people, like, that's when you're like, oh, I'm not crazy, because all these people think that it's a good idea too, and that feels really great. And to now be like with 16 people in the office, and they're having meetings with the design boys, and they bring you like all these ideas that they've had, and they've been working all week on things to show you, and you sit down with them, and yeah, it really just feels amazing, because I could see it, and I could see what it could be. But of course, the idea of like building something like that, like, I have no idea about tech, and that is terrifying. But yeah, in terms of like being able to get the reach and being able to speak to wonderful people like you, like, that's what I bring to the company.
And what is obviously you've mentioned that Daisie's evolving. What is the future for it at the moment? Like, obviously it's picking up more and more attention. You've got increased downloads and things. So what's the future for it for you?
So we'll launch version 2 in April, and we have like a beta coming in 2 weeks, which I think you guys have forms. If you want to be on it, then send us your email. And we'll launch that in April, and we'll ultimately, like, we'll collect data, we'll go back to the drawing board, we'll update constantly, and make it better and more exciting. But in terms of like, we'll raise Series A, we'll keep pushing with the company, we'll get a bigger team, we'll maybe branch out into different industries. I'm coming from dance, I really want to go into that area, and we've had so many suggestions for different industries. So, and then I guess if we can get London and we can get the UK, then we want to bring this to people in Berlin and New York. Like, we really see Daisie as being like a global company, and this sort of collaboration could really work like across seas, and that's so exciting. Like, someone who needs what you have in New York, and being able to like create something beautiful with people all around the world, like, that really excites me. And yeah, for people to meet like-minded people on the app, to create amazing projects, and to elevate their career for themselves rather than waiting for someone else. That's what I want. That's what I want for the company.
Just for my knowledge, do we have any dancers in the room? Anyone that's studying dance? No?
What about in your bedroom when no one's looking?
We have Fergus over there. He's a dancer as well. I think another question that I've been sent is, what's the most boring thing you've forced yourself to do? And how did you motivate yourself to do it?
I told you guys one earlier. What did I say earlier?
What did she say earlier?
Because I couldn't remember. Where's Ida?
Yeah.
What did I say?
When you're filming Game of Thrones in the cold.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Smiling. No, it was the interviews, wasn't it?
Yes, that's it. Because I was thinking.
Not this interview. Yeah. Okay. Live streams.
the show is successful all around the world, which is amazing. It means we get to travel to all these different countries and be in Japan for like 3 days, and it's like really exciting. And I've always wanted to go to Japan ever since I was a tiny little kid, and so we went, and I had to do one day of work, and then the rest of the time I could have off, and I don't know. There's like so they don't speak English and I don't speak Japanese, and so I had Miyako, this lady who was my translator, and so the interviewer would speak to Miyako, and then Miyako would speak to me, and then I speak back to Miyako, and then she speak. And doing that, like for one interview, is like lengthy, but it was like, and it was the worst because it was this beautiful view of the whole of Japan, and I was sat in this room like, let me out. Someone let me out. And I thought, I can't even like throw out my best jokes, they're not going to translate well. So I was just sat in this room, and it was honestly like the most testing thing I've ever done. And yeah, just really long, and then yeah, but then afterwards I got to go and have a wonderful time in Japan, and I got a tattoo. So it was good.
And I've been asked to ask, what does professionalism mean to you?
Not doing that. I don't know. I think in my industry, in like the creative world, like, I don't know, you don't get anywhere by playing it by the rules. And when I meet people and I meet directors or producers or whatever, and I think like it's not the setting for like, I really want to be in your movies, but you just like meet people. I think it's so important to understand what it is about you that's like, that people can't forget, and like being able to convey that as soon as you meet these people. And even if, you know, it's not until 2-3 years down the line, like they remember you, and that's really important. So of course I'm professional, and I don't like to like insult anyone, but I also think at the same time, like, goes a long way being a little cheeky and you know, just being memorable and having fun. I think it's so refreshing, like everyone's playing by the rules and you don't have to. And that's so much more fun, I think. And I don't know, it's working, kind of.
So
I'll never be back here again, but.
So everyone be a little bit more cheeky, especially with my bosses in the room. Be a little bit more cheeky. It's been endorsed by Maisie. So what I want to do now is, I'm sure you've heard enough of me, so I'm going to ask some of my glorious assistants, Karen McIntyre at the back there, and my colleague, is it Simone? So yeah, we're going to take some questions from you guys. We'll take 2 at a time. If you can actually just say your name and what you're studying, and one of my glorious colleagues will actually take questions. So who's got a question? Okay, Karen, we'll take one here. And anyone here has got a question? Well, we've got a question here, Simone, as well. Oh, sorry? Oh, we've got a question here. We will get round to people, so yeah.
Hi, my name's Molly, and I study performance, politics and society here at Goldsmiths. My question is, because I'm a politics student, I'm very involved in like being passionate about current issues and things, but I find it kind of hard to balance that kind of distance between the news as well. So being positive and remaining positive, but also having a good mental health, whilst also being passionate and wanting to fight for change. Yeah. How do you feel like you balance that?
Not very well. No, I think that you have to realize like how much you're doing by being so passionate about these things and speaking out about like issues that you see. And it can sometimes feel like you're just like shouting at a brick wall, and it can feel like you're wasting your time. But I think like being that beacon of light for change, and like, you know, understanding the world that you live in, I think that is like, it's so much more than so many people are willing to do, that you have to give yourself the break and give yourself the time to relax and switch off, and, you know, understand that what you're doing is really important, and, you know, that deserves a break too. It's okay.
We had a question here.
Hi, I'm Maddie. I'm a history and journalism student. I just want to thank you so much for coming to Humble at Goldsmiths. It's really nice to have people of your calibre coming here. We all really appreciate it. So I'd just like to ask a question about, how has your fame altered your relationship with people you already know and then people you meet?
So at school it was, I don't know, like, I've met so many amazing women, but when I was 15, like, where were they all? At school, I didn't get on very well at school. I was like nobody, right? No one knew who I was, and I had my group of friends, and I loved to make them laugh, and I always did stupid things. And then everything started to happen, and I was in this show, and then all of a sudden everyone was like, who are you, and why has this happened to you and not me? And I kind of get that, and I see that, you know, that's kind of how it goes. And yeah, I think, you know, as I've gone through my career, like, a lot of people have been really happy for me, and a lot of people haven't. And it's trying to understand that just because you've known someone for a really long time, if they're going to hold you back, and they're not going to be, like, if someone really cared about you, like, they would never hinder you, and they would never make it hard for you to do well. And lots of people in my life really did. And understanding that sometimes it's okay to break off those toxic relationships, and just because you've known them since before you were famous, it doesn't mean that they're nice people. And I mean, since, like, in the industry, it's really strange meeting new friends, and you never know who's like your friend, because like this picture of you together at this party looks really good, and like who's actually gonna like call you back and like be your friend and be able to call in like a time of need. It's kind of really strange like that in the fame world, but I don't know, I like people, and I feel like when I'm just living my life, I'm quite an ordinary person, and you know, I really, really cherish those like real connections and those honest friendships, and you know, that's how I've always been. And I think it's other people's view that change, but I'm feel the same.
Okay, thank you. I think we had any more questions? Got one here. Okay, we've got one up here, and sorry, Karen, I'm gonna have to make you come down here. Mind you don't trip. Yeah, sorry, got one. Yeah, we've got the gentleman in the blue. Oh, sorry. Karen needs her night vision on.
Hi, I'm Matilda. I do history of art.
You're called Matilda?
Yeah.
That's a great name.
Thank you. I'll tell my mum you said that. Obviously, you spend a lot of time in the public on interviews, so you must have like gained a lot of confidence. For somebody that struggles with public speaking and things, how would you give like, is there any tips you would provide?
Yeah, I feel like it's two different people. I feel like who I am right now and who I really am are very different. And like sometimes it's okay to like just like put it onto someone else. So I don't know, ever since I was teeny tiny, I've always felt like if a friend of mine was like, I read that interview that you did, I'd get really embarrassed because I felt like that was someone else, someone really outgoing and really like, and I think it's okay to just like burst out of your shell, and then you feel like you can just leave them at the door, and like if anything embarrassing went wrong, then it's like okay, because I don't know if that's bad advice, but that's really what I do. I have this like personality, and it's so much easier to be able to then shed that, and if anything did go horribly wrong and anything was embarrassing, then you can just cut that off, and then you know it doesn't you don't take that home with you. And nothing that embarrassing ever really happens. Like people, like it's fine. People want to hear what you have to say, and like people are, you know, from my experience, have been really supportive of me going through this industry, and you know, just showing the best side of yourself and conveying that is so much more important than being nervous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And yeah, we had. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Louisa. I study design, and I have a question about your app, and I wonder, you talk about sharing, and I wonder how will you protect artists from their work being stolen, like plagiarism and...
Yeah, so on the app, when you're building projects, you can have things on like public and private. And so if they're private, you can invite people in that you want to be a part of it, and you can all collaborate on what it is that you're building. And you can have it on public as well. And I mean, at the end of the day, like the internet is the internet, and we can't change that as much as that would be amazing. If you want to protect your own work, then, you know, we encourage that as well. But I also like the idea of like really breaking down those barriers of ownership, and, you know, in order to elevate an idea that you've had, you do need to collaborate with so many people. And in my industry, like, I'm an actor and I get all of the credit for Game of Thrones, and I didn't write it and I didn't direct it and I didn't make any of the costumes. Like, I really just come into work and say my lines, and I'm the one that gets all the credit, and I always found that really strange. And so I think, you know, the idea of being able to share that credit amongst everyone who works on it, because it is such a collaboration, the whole show. That's why people give these rambling speeches thanking people that you've never heard, because like they are the ones that created the show that you love to watch, or film or whatever. So I mean, in terms of like being able to have public and private projects, like we absolutely give that over to you. But in terms of like sharing with the people that you're building this with, I think that it's really important to be open to collaborating and giving out your ideas.
Okay. We had a question down here. Do you want me to, if you guys are up there, do you want me to get this question here? Oh, I'll get this question.
Thanks. I'm Lena from Bond, Not James, network for NGOs in the UK. Thank you very much for sharing your story with us. You've shown a huge amount of strength to get to where you are right now. Very inspiring, and I'm sure you're just going to go higher. My question is, Daisie is about collaboration. Who would you love to collaborate with?
I mean, I'd really love to shoot a music video. I don't actually know who. I don't know what song until I hear it, I guess. Like, I'd really love to shoot a music video. I've done a couple of them, like, myself, as, like, working on them. And the idea of, like, writing something that doesn't have any dialogue is, like, really interesting to me. But, yeah, I guess with the music industry, like, I mean, I'd love to... I think that industries are all inspired by one another anyway, and for me, music means so much to me. So it would be really wonderful to... I mean, who would I pick? I don't know, like James Blake. That would be dope. If I shot a James Blake music video, I'd just RIP me. That's me done.
Okay, next question. Okay, we've got... Sorry, yeah, we've got in the white here. And... we've got a hand up there, Karen. Oh, yeah, you've got a hand up there. Yeah.
Hi. My name is Sharifa. I'm studying politics and international relations. My question is, have you ever had, is there something that you've always wanted to do, like in a different avenue that's away from the creative arts?
Away from the creative arts? I mean... at school, like, people always think, like, actors and filmmakers, like, they're really good at English. Like, I was actually far better at maths. Knowing when it's the right and wrong answer, because it's right or it's wrong, is really helpful to me. And there being this grey middle ground where there's no right or wrong answer, I never really got on well with that. So, yeah, I mean, me and Ida do a lot of Sudoku, and I still do, like, numbers a lot. But mathematics really always interested me, and I wasn't too bad at it. I had terrible teachers, but I wasn't too bad at it.
And I think we had a question over...
I just want to say that I love your pink hair.
Where are you? Thanks.
Here.
Thank you.
So I study consumer behaviour. So I study why people buy things, and eventually I want to start my own business. So I was just wondering, but I would have no idea where to start. So, like, what's your advice on starting up your own business, like, from nothing? Because, like, I don't know where to go, who to seek.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, mentors, really. Like, mentors have got me to where I am. And, you know, again, it's that whole thing of, like, collaborating and just networking and meeting people. But there's, you know, you meet such inspiring people and they've got so much advice, and it's so important to really take that on board. And everything we've done with Daisie is because, you know, mentors. There was this guy who reached out called Evan. It was like a cold email. And he was like, hey, I don't know if you know what you're doing, because we did like a press release on Daisie. And he just like did a stab in the dark and gassed my email and sent me an email. And he was like, I don't know if you really know what you're doing, but you should like maybe try and get investors. And I was like, who's going to invest in this? Like, this is just our stupid little idea. Like, is anyone going to even invest in this? This is insane. And that's the point, is that you need other people to want to get on board with what you're doing. And with him, he was like, well, why don't we talk through it? And we did. And he was like, yeah, you need like a lot of work. And, you know, there are people out there that are willing to mentor, having done it before. And there are so many people that have done it before, and they're thrilled to pass on what they've learned. And particularly in the tech world, people like are so supportive. And you meet one, and then they introduce you to 5 more, and then you meet those 5, and they introduce. It's like a big pyramid scheme. Yeah, but people really are more willing to, in the tech world, to really help you and give you as much advice as they can. So just mentorship, really, yeah.
Okay, we've got a question. Oh, we've got a question down here, and we've got a question in the middle, Karen.
Me? Hi, I'm Molly. I do media communications. This is more of a game, not really a question. Okay, so one person you have to go on a cruise with, one person you have to sleep with, and one person you have to kill. And with Game of Thrones characters. I'm going to pick... you have to do Gendry.
Who is on a cruise ship, Gendry?
No, you have to pick.
Oh, out of the 3 you're going to give me?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you Gendry, Khal Drogo, and Oberyn Martell, because he's my favourite. So you have to go on a cruise with one, sleep with one, and kill one.
I'd go on a cruise with Gendry. I'd sleep with Oberyn Martell. And I would kill... What was the other one? Khal Drogo. Oh. He's already gone, it's fine, bye. See ya.
And I think we had a question.
I thought I was going to get to pick, and I was like, sleep with Sophie. No.
My name's Sophie. Mia.
I can't even see you.
I'm in the middle.
You couldn't even plan that. That's live streamed as well to about 10,000 students.
Firstly, nice one. No, but I was going to ask you a question about your app. Really appreciate what you're doing for creatives being able to collaborate and things on a platform that cuts out the middleman. But are you going to keep it free? How are you going to keep it going, basically?
Yeah, so in when we launch in April, like we really just want to see how people use it. I mean, we do have different ideas for monetization. What we want to do is keep it really like community driven. So, you know, once upon a time, people like paid for apps, and then they like paid for like ad free, and then they did subscriptions. And like, I feel like there's something new coming, like something new and exciting that people can do. And like, maybe it's a way of like people either being able to like contribute to Daisie or subscribe to like their favorite creators on Daisie and be able to like, you know, pass that around each other. But at the end of the day, like we have investors that are like, when are we going to have our money back? So, you know, and nothing comes for free. But at the end of the day, like, you know, so many of us pay for these subscriptions to like Netflix, and you know, and I would hope that Daisie is another way that people can like subscribe for amazing content, the way that Netflix like provides these amazing shows with all of these subscription money. I would hope that we can really like support the creators on Daisie with our scheme. Yeah, and it's really not set in stone. We're still trying to figure it out, and people are like, you need to know now. And it's like we just want to know how you guys use it, and we want to know how we can just make it most efficient for you.
Okay, bro, thank you.
Thanks.
I think he's going to get cramp in his arms. So yeah, we'll come to you, and we'll take a question right next to you, Simone.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm digital arts computing student. Mine's a bit of a two-part question. So when you were saying before about like when you first auditioned for Game of Thrones, no one knew it was going to be as big. Looking back, if you kind of like knew how big it was going to be, would you have still gone taken the role, or would you have maybe opted for like a smaller role and like still being able to contribute to the show, like you said, with the costume designers, but not be as famous? And also, how important do you think it is for celebrities to use their status to like help people and benefit others?
There have, I mean, the answer to that question changes for me all the time. There have definitely been times where I've just wanted it to all go away and just be like Maisie again, and like everything's changed forever. It seems like I don't know, maybe it will fade when the show ends, but and yeah, there have been times where it's just not really been worth it for me. Like you don't understand how precious your anonymity is until it's taken away, and it seems like a lot of fun, but there's so much more important things to life than being famous. So at the moment, like, it's fine, and being able to harness it to talk about the things that I love, and to be able to push Daisie and, you know, try and send like a real positive message with this company. You know, that's been amazing to have this voice, and that's why I've always tried to use it, is because like sometimes it's kind of been like not the best in my own life, but in terms of the amount of people that would really like kill to be able to have a platform than the one that I have, like, it's really important for me to speak out about things. And I mean, there's a lot of people like on the show and who I've met who just don't speak out and don't, you know, feel it's their duty. But I don't know, we're just blessed. Like, people want what we have, and I think it's so important. And yeah, just to inspire people. And, you know, my life could have been so different. And yeah, I think that, you know, trying to inspire people to really reach for something that seems unachievable, because it happened to me. Like, my life could have been entirely different, and it all changed overnight. And yeah, so I think it's important for people to, you know, do the same and speak out. But, you know, at the end of the day, people can live their lives the way they want to. And, you know, if it suits people to be closed off and, you know, live their rich life on their own, then that's cool too.
And I think we had a question over there as well.
Hi, I'm Thomas. I'm studying computer science, and I was wondering, as like a female tech founder, and someone who sits in this lecture theatre, and generally it's kind of this full anyway. There's barely any women in the room, and obviously it's not representative of the country. How would you suggest that we appeal to more women to do to be in the tech industry? Yeah.
Well, you mean here now?
Not in.
There's a lot of ladies.
But like, but in Goldsmiths there's a lot of women, but they're not so much in the tech sector of our.
Yeah, I think like I think at the end of the day, like, people should do what it is that they want to do with their life. And you know, if people don't feel inspired to strive for jobs within industries that are very male dominated, then I would just encourage you to break that barrier. Be one of those women that decides against that and decides they're not going to listen and pushes for that anyway. But, you know, you also don't know that maybe people don't want to be in tech. Yeah, so I you know, I just think that, you know, change starts with you, and I know someone probably far more interesting said that before I did, so I'm not going to claim that for my own. But yeah, I think that it's important to make that change. And I don't know, I find that most exciting when I'm in a situation where I think, God, like, I don't fit here, 2, don't think I should be here, and 3, people are looking at me. It kind of makes me feel the most excited. It makes me feel like, then I'm going to change people's minds today, and I'm going to come and look a total mess at a university and like not care about it. You know, like, that is what I get a kick out of, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. There's one at the back, Simone. And yeah, just to your right, Karen. Yeah. Oh, to your left, sorry.
Hi, I'm Sanmiti. I'm doing my postgrad in design. I know it's a head scratcher when it comes to naming something. How did you get to naming it Daisie?
Yes. No. So myself and Dom, we had a production company called Daisie Chain Productions, and then when you spell it IE, 1, it looks more like my name, so I was thrilled. And 2, if you split the word up to Daisie, like DAIS, and then IE, then like Dias can mean like a lectern or a platform, and then IE is like a specific group of people. So we kind of tried to make it really smart and throw those two words together. But then it's also just like, well, I'm called Maisie and you're called Dom, so let's call it Daisie. And yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for the time that an investor is like, yeah, we need to change that name. We're not getting social network. So maybe that will happen. But I mean, until now, it's really lovely. Like, yeah, it just looks like both of us, you know, when you see Daisie everywhere. And yeah, like Dom is just thrilled that he's got like a D as the logo, you know, and he's like, that's my name. So yeah, I mean, just because we're Generation we're Generation Z, so we just like come up with a stupid name.
And I think we had a question back there. Do we?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Naima. I study English Lit. I do have 2 questions. The first part is, what's your favorite scene in Game of Thrones? And also the second bit is, if you are able to say Avala Mugulis.
So my favorite scene in the show, I don't know, one that I've been a part of or one just to like watch? To watch. I loved the part where the mountain squishes Oberon's head. That was really great. It was a good scene. It was sad though, you know, good character, and then he's gone. Yeah, and Valar Morghulis.
We probably only have, we can take one here, Simone, and I think there's one there, Karen. Karen's going to hate me. I've just got her going up and down like a yo-yo now.
Hi, my name is Kaya, and I study media and communications, but I'm doing this degree and putting on my real dreams of acting on hold, because I've been told by so many people that you need to get a degree first so that you are employable, play it safe, because the fear is, what if you do chase those creative dreams and then 10 years, 5 years on, you look back and you're like, dang it, should have got that degree because now I'm behind this bar table for a very long time. And so I'm inspired by your story of just leaving school, deciding to chase your dreams and do what felt right to you, which is very much what I need to be doing. So what advice do you have for people like myself who have been kind of trapped by that mentality of needing to play it safe so they have like a way to win bread in the future, to sacrifice their real creative goals or at least put them on a pause?
I mean, I have to be careful what I say. I think that, you know, no matter if you're studying or you're not, I think there's a lot that you can put in place for when you finish, and a lot of like people you can be meeting now, and ultimately like the connections that you make, like even in this university, like these people are gonna like go with you places and support you as you like take your steps within the industry. There's a guy, Joshua Kane, he's a really great designer, and even now like he went off and he designed for this company and he assisted this person and he worked his way up and he finally had his own brand, Joshua Kane Bespoke, and he still now uses, like for any graphics that he does, he uses the people he went to university with, like even now, and they've come on that journey with him, and it took him so long to get to that point. So the connections that you make are really gonna help you, and you know, while you're here, really use the people that are around you, and you know, they'll really like take you places, and you know, be networking outside of this as well, and you know, with people from other unis, and it's just so important to get an understanding of what's going on in London, like what is happening, and like what are the opportunities that are coming up for certain people, and how did they get to where they are, and you know, being in with that crowd is like really important, and yeah, just being really aware. So even if you're studying, like you can still do that.
Okay, we probably only have time for a couple more questions, so okay, so we've got one here.
Yep.
And yeah, she's just grabbing the mic, so yeah.
There's one here, maybe.
And there's
Ooh.
I think there's one.
We have one question here, Ash.
Oh yeah.
Hi, my name is Anastasia. Over you.
Hi.
I'm studying art history. I wanted to ask you, while you said that there are so many people who are supportive of you, I don't know if it is, I don't want to be stereotypical, but I'm wondering whether you had experience of backstabbing or had somebody to stand up for you behind closed doors, or have to have like the experience of standing up for yourself. And also not really going into the Me Too problem, but have you seen the things that you like feel like needs to change inside the industry and your experience with it?
Yeah, like in terms of going through, I mean, I touched on it a little bit earlier. Like, there have been people that aren't very supportive, and I have like lost a lot of friends, but I've also gained a lot of friends as well. And yeah, I think that it is such a shame that like going through life, like there are people that are, there's at the end of the day, it's like real jealousy and real bitterness, and like, you know, if you can turn it around and like really just try and understand that person and how they feel, like, and why it's coming out in this way, like that really helped me to like just like let it go, and not feel like so hurt by the things that people say, because it's just, you know, people want success, and like, you know, and that also goes for yourself as well. If someone starts doing really well in your life, like you can't get bitter and jealous of that. You have to just keep working on your own game, and you have to stay on your own path, because it's not going to help you, and it's certainly not helping them. And then in terms of like the industry and what I've seen, like I've always had a really pleasant time in this industry, and I know it's not the same for a lot of women. I've also just had a lot of really wonderful women like looking out for me, and who have just told me so much and informed me of so much. And Lena Headey, who's on the show, she's always treated me like a grown-up, even when I was a lot younger. And having someone who really respects you like that was so helpful for me to just get an understanding of the industry and how it sort of works. But yeah, personally, I've never experienced anything less than like professionalism, and I'm really grateful of that.
I think we've got one question there.
Hi, my name is Katya. Oh, that's a lot of eyes. Okay. I study media and communications, and I wanted to ask you, so social media is obviously a big part of your business and your personal life. So have you ever wanted to post something, but then ended up not posting it because you thought it was too risky, or it might be misinterpreted? Because obviously that happens a lot with the media.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely went through a phase when I was like 15 of just being like, I'll post it and figure it out later. And like, it just led to a lot of tears and nasty comments. Yeah, I think as well, like, you know, understanding that I don't want people to know as much anymore, like realizing that sometimes it just takes it to, you have to go too far to understand that you don't want to go that far again. But people can only learn that on their own journey, and it's really hard to tell someone like, oh, you're gonna regret posting that, because you kind of have to learn it yourself. So not anymore. There's not things that I'm like, oh, like I want to do it, but it's a bit too risky. Like I kind of like, if anything, I'm trying to get away from it or a little bit more. But yeah, I think just like not feeling forced to post things at all. Like in this new world of like social, like Instagram fame, and like, you know, making money through like posting certain things, and like it's like always been there, but it's never really been of interest to me. And like my socials have always been like very honest, and they've always been posts from myself. And I think that, you know, when you start going down the path of like, should I or shouldn't I, and who am I trying to portray, like it just starts to get really messy, and you're just going to get found out. So it's better to just be yourself.
We probably only have time for one more question. I know this student here has just been. Yep.
Hello, my name is Marlika. I am studying a master in filmmaking, specializing in editing. So your app might come in helpful when I graduate. I was wondering if you feel sad or excited to quit the end of Game of Thrones, and how you feel about leaving your character.
So I finished shooting the final season like June, July last year. And I signed this contract when I was 12, and people always said, like, one day, like, this is going to end, but you're going to have, like, so much opportunity to do what you want to do. And I guess I've always sort of known that, but it's taken these last few months for me to really realize that. Like, I can do anything. Like, I can act, but, like, what else do I want in life? And, yeah, it's been really lovely, like, doing Daisie and working in the office and just being surrounded by people that are working on that. And I think in terms of not playing Arya again, I'm definitely really going to miss her. And she was like so iconic in my career, and it was the first character I ever created. And there's so much of me and the years that I lived and the life that I had that come through season from season. And yeah, I'm really going to miss that. But in terms of like, it's the right time. Like, feels like, I'm going to stop saying like. I'm not. I refuse. But in terms of, you know, where I go next and new things that I want to do, it's the right time to say goodbye. And I've done everything with Arya that I've wanted to, and I made it my mission in this final season to really make the most of every second. And
someone needs a tissue. They're crying.
It got to my final day, and I like finished and wrapped and said my speech and cried, and I went back to my trailer, and I don't know, I took off my costume for the last time and thought I did it. Like, there was no part of me that was like, oh, I want to cling on to it. I feel like complete, you know.
Is Arya gonna finish your list of names?
You don't have to answer that. That's it.
All right, thank you.
Right, so I'm going to have to bring this to a close now, but I've got a couple of people that I need to thank, exactly what Maisie was saying before. There's been a lot of help for this event, so I want to thank our comms team, our IT team, our fabulous design team, estates also, and yeah, also Niall at the back who's doing the live streaming. Karen, can we have a round of applause for Karen as well?
Karen.
And my colleague Simone as well. Thank you for working the hours. Thank you. I would also like to thank my colleagues. I'm going to embarrass them now. So if you're part of the career service, can you stand up, please? This is your career service, so thank you very much. And last and not least, I do want to thank Maisie for her time, but also Ida as well, who's part of the Daisie team. So I want to thank you all. Thank you very much. Yeah. And we're just going to have some closing words from Katie Gordon.
Thank you very much, Ash. Okay, we're not going to keep you very long now. I've got 3 things to do. The first thing, of course, is to thank Maisie for her don't clap yet. For an inspirational talk and answering your questions. And I think what it really shows is how important it is to be determined about what you want to do and driven about getting it and overcoming setbacks. That's one lesson. But the other is actually, you had one career idea at the start in dancing, and then you stepped sideways because you were open to an opportunity. So don't let your drive to achieve something blind you to what other alternative opportunities are there. That's a very good lesson in life, because many of us will change careers a lot. And whatever you do, be determined while you're doing it, but always keep an eye out for the options and the other possibilities. And I think also the examples you've given about just kick-ass kind of, well, just because everyone says you shouldn't, or you're not allowed to break the rules, if you feel it's the right thing for you, is try not to be too scared about it. Because actually, all of you guys here are already a success, because you've made it to universities. A lot of people at university, but a lot of people that aren't. So you are already a success. It's about how much further you can go. Okay? So can we just thank Maisie for inspiring us with that? We do have some gifts for you. Where are the gifts? The bags? We do have the gifts somewhere. Somebody has them for me? Help! They're hidden. Aha. Really hidden. They're very special. Thank you so much. Sorry, Simon. Okay. So, because you will remember Goldsmiths not only for the fabulous audience and the great questions, but their fantastic gifts. Here we go. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And just before we finish, it's also to say thank you so much to Ash as well, because without his connecting with, hold on a minute, without him connecting with Maisie, making that connection, bringing her here, getting us all sorted in the career service about getting to come here and organise this. But also a huge thank you to you guys for coming. There were a huge amount of oversubscriptions to come here, but we're delighted that so many of you wanted to. This is one example of what the career service can do for you. It's not all standard things you think you know. They're the things you don't necessarily expect. If you've enjoyed this, come and discover your career service. Because there were questions about, I don't know how to start my business. Well, we have in the room our enterprise expert in Anthony at the front here. And we are building an enterprise hub and an enterprise network, and you'll see so much more of that coming in the next year. You don't have to think, I want to start a job. If you've got a career idea of a business you want to set up, or you want to go freelance, we can help you with that too. And the last thing to say, whatever you are thinking about in your career ideas, or with none at all, you do not need to already have an idea to come and talk to us. We're not that scary. We're quite funny. And we do actually know a few things. So we can help you think through your ideas, help you point you on your way, and find the resources for you to achieve what you want to do. So if you're inspired by Maisie, make use of us, go out and be a success. Thank you very much.
Thank you all again. And without you guys and your interest, we wouldn't have been able to put this on. So thank you to all you guys. The one last thing I'm going to ask is if you could just stay in your seats, and we'll be back. So but thank you very much, all you guys. Thank you very much, and thank you to Maisie.
Thank you.
We're just holding you in your seats while Maisie makes a quick getaway, just in case there's that running down. Oh. Oh, what a good idea. Anyone who doesn't want to be in it, duck down.